Our region's been an AI pioneer since the 1950s when CMU researchers Herb Simon and Alan Newell produced what's widely recognized as the first artificial intelligence program. Today we're emerging as one of the leading markets for AI startups and startups in autonomous systems as well, playing way above our weight. A new report from Ernst & Young and Innovation Works indicates that Metro Pittsburgh ranked 7th last year in AI and autonomous vehicle venture funding on a per capita basis and 12th in deal count in those sectors, despite ranking 25th in population. Overall, 124 Pittsburgh companies raised about $2.25 billion last year. That's the third highest annual total on record. Ben Raju is back with us. He's president and CEO of Innovation Works, and welcome. Good to see you.
It's great to be here.
Not a bad year.
No, it's a tremendous year, in fact. $2.3 billion of capital inflows, up from last year. Some really distinctive indicators that I wanted to highlight. One being we saw over $2 billion of institutional venture investment come into the ecosystem, which is markedly more than previous years, double of what we saw last year. The average round size nearly doubled from 16 million to 32 million. And we had over 50 plus institutional investors from around the world make their first investment here in the Pittsburgh.
50 plus, their first investment.
First investment.
And we really do seem, there's so much hype these days about the markets and artificial intelligence and all that interest and all that focus. We really seem to be benefiting from that. Right
we are, you know, as you noted in the opening, long-standing clusters in these areas. We have a deep institutional knowledge in these areas, deep talent pool in these areas, and we're starting to see commercial tailwinds align with our core strengths. So, you know, I don't say this lightly, but this is our moment.
Yeah, and to see us moving up into the top 10 and those kinds, it's great to be in that part of all these rankings and listings, because then what, does that feed even additional interest?
It does. And institutional venture is particularly important in that these investors are viewing this market and companies within this market as being viable companies to create outsized returns for their investors as well as for the company founders and employees, etc. And to the extent that we deliver on those returns in the next 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 years, I think you'll see even greater amounts of capital flow into the ecosystem.
You had a few really big wins last year.
Really big raises, disproportionately large raises for the region in the way of a Series B for Skilled AI. A Bridge raised 2 rounds totaling $500+ million. Agility raised a $400 million round, and Gecko raised a $100+ million round. The one point that I make is even if you were to take out those disproportionately large rounds, you're still looking at about $700 million that was somewhat distributed amongst you know, the 120 plus companies here in the ecosystem. And that $700 million figure is still 2x of where we were 10 years ago.
Wow, so it's really significant. Interesting too that the big four, they're all in the spaces we're talking about, right? AI, robotics, which really seems to be the sweet spot these days for Pittsburgh. Well, there's a lot out there. You mentioned all these other dozens and dozens of companies, but what's in our way? Is there enough money? Is there enough fuel to really propel this to its potential?
Yeah, one of the areas that this report highlights is resident capital. Resident capital is the amount of capital that is originated here in the region and invested here in the region. The reason that's important is, particularly at the early stages, pre-seed, seed, early growth, it's not typical for coastal investors to come in at scale at those rounds, because the investors are taking product risk, they're taking market risk, and these companies tend to need a lot more hand-holding than companies that are, you know, full on their way to growth and scaling from 50 million in revenue to 100 million in revenue, et cetera. And so the argument goes that the more resident capital we have here in the region, the more throughput we'll see in terms of companies that are invested at the early stages. And in turn, the more likely we are to have more geckos, more bridges, more agilities come out of that throughput.
All right. Well, that's something the region can work on.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right, Ben
indeed.
Raju from Innovation
Yeah.
Works. Thanks so much.
No, thank you. Great to be here.
Next up, a local startup that's attracting investment dollars by building a world without waste. Please stay with us.